Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Enneagram Guide to Waking Up. Find your path, face your shadow, discover your true self. By Beatrice Chesnut, Ph.D., and Uranio Pais, M.M. Foreword by Daniel J. Siegel, M.D. Narrated by Elizabeth Wiley. Publisher's Note: in this audio edition, you will hear references to diagrams present in the print and e-book formats of the book. Foreword. In this lovely and practical introduction to the Enneagram, Beatrice Chesnut, Ph.D., and Uranio Pais explore the 9 core personality patterns and how they shape and inform our lives. These patterns are the source of many important mental, emotional, and behavioral habits which affect who we believe ourselves to be and how we engage with life. By grasping the full significance of those patterns, you can achieve a higher level of self-awareness and the emotional freedom that comes from seeing and breaking free from unconscious defenses. Each chapter will help you see those defenses in action, and each provides a step-by-step guide to waking up. By waking up, we mean lessening the constraints of self-limiting habits that motivate feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. We all have such habits. They can be very hard to see because they have become so familiar and comfortable over the course of your life. Why? Because they are deeply embedded in the ways our minds have learned to make sense of the world and our relationships with others. The Enneagram Guide for Waking Up provides valuable tools for bringing these patterns to awareness. In the process, you can develop a fresh understanding of your personal story, including the joys and traumas of your childhood, and how that story informs how you function as an adult. Like Chesnut and Pais, we also view individual personality differences as a combination of nature and nurture, our innate inheritance, and the ways in which our unique life experience shapes us. And our Enneagram study also began with the pioneering work of David Daniels, M.D., and Helen Palmer, and their Narrative Enneagram School. In our own work, we examine these personality patterns in the context of interpersonal neurobiology. We consider how they may emerge through systems of mind that enable us to operate in the world as we seek safety and certainty, connections with others, and a sense of agency and power in our lives. We share the view that a deeper understanding of these patterns can lead us to grow into better human beings. This, after all, is the original purpose of the Enneagram. Many people who encounter the Enneagram seek clear guidance on what to do to further their growth once they identify their core Enneagram pattern. This book offers answers, grounded in B's and Uranio's many years of working with the Enneagram as teachers and practitioners. We appreciate the way this book builds on the solid foundation of the teaching of David Daniels and Helen Palmer to clarify how each type of person can apply the information provided by this remarkable tool to grow beyond the level of ego or personality at which we get stuck moving through life on autopilot. To make the most of the valuable information offered in this book, we urge you to approach it with curiosity as well as commitment. Our minds are fascinating. Changing them involves work, to be sure, but don't neglect the opportunity to enjoy the journey of growing and expanding through this exciting approach to self-discovery. The mindful strategies and wise advice contained in this approachable guide will help you create more freedom and richer relationships in your life and more peace in our world. Daniel J. Siegel, M.D., author of The Developing Mind and Parenting from the Inside Out, and the Patterns of Developmental Pathways group. The Patterns of Developmental Pathways group is a team of 5 medical and social scientists, Daniel J. Siegel, MD, Laura Baker, PhD, David Daniels, MD, 1934 to 2017, Denise Daniels, PhD, and Jack Killen, MD, who have been exploring the Enneagram's personality patterns from the perspective of contemporary science for over 10 years. A book describing their work is forthcoming. Introduction. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. Ralph Waldo Emerson. You are not your personality. But who are you? If you're like most people, you picked this book because you want to understand more about why you are the way you are. Why do you do the things you do, or react the way you do to certain things? Why, no matter how many times you think you've learned something, do you keep making the same mistakes? How can you make your relationships better, and what happened in the one that didn't work out? Why is there one issue in your life that you just can't get past? Well, there's a reason for all of these things, and there's a reason why you have a difficult time understanding why you do what you do. Basically, you have become a zombie. No, we're not saying you're literally one of the undead. We're saying you're going through life in a zombie-like state, on autopilot, asleep to who you really are and what's really going on inside you, just like most of us do. This book can help awaken you from this state by introducing you to the Enneagram, a powerful growth tool based on timeless wisdom that can help you come to know your true self. The Enneagram can free you from defensive, self-limiting patterns and help you grow into an expanded version of yourself. It can show you who you really are by showing you who you think you are. Only then can you know who you actually are and who you are not. What is the Enneagram? The Enneagram is a complex and meaningful symbol that relates to many different systems of knowledge, including psychology, cosmology, and mathematics. It forms the basis of a highly accurate typology that describes 9 distinct personality types and serves as a sense-making framework for understanding the human ego and mapping out a process of growth. As a psychological and spiritual model that lays out specific paths of self-development, it helps us wake up to ourselves by revealing the habitual patterns and blind spots that limit our growth and transformation. The Enneagram is based on 9 personality types, grounded in 3 centers of intelligence that determine how we take in and process information from the outside world. We think and analyze using our head center. Types 5, 6, and 7 are dominated by this center, and their experience is shaped by thoughts. They are analytical and imaginative, and know how to plan and make sense of things, but they can be overly logical and detached from feelings and emotions. We feel emotions and connect with others using our heart center. Types 2, 3, and 4 are dominated by this center, and their experience is shaped by feelings. They are usually emotionally intelligent and empathetic, and value connection and relationships, but they can be overly focused on image and fear rejection. We experience life through our senses using our body center. Types 1, 8, and 9 are dominated by this center, and their experience is shaped by sensations. They are usually committed and responsible and value truth and honor, but they can be judgmental and inflexible. We get out of balance when we use one of these centers more than the other two. The Enneagram helps us become aware of and redress this imbalance. Each of the 9 types on the Enneagram circle can be defined in terms of a central survival strategy comprised of habitual patterns and motivations. We all develop unconscious strategies to avoid pain and discomfort as we move through the world. When we see ourselves as the sum total of these unconscious patterns, we lose sight of who we really are and what's possible for us. The fact that these strategies are unconscious makes it hard or impossible to acknowledge and move beyond them. But we are actually much more than we think we are, and the Enneagram helps us to realize this. Each of the 9 personality types on the Enneagram circle has 3 distinct subtypes, making for a total of 27 types. These subtypes are more nuanced versions of the original 9 types and are defined by 3 instinctual drives: self-preservation, social belonging, and sexual one-to-one fusion. Each subtype reveals how these instinctual drives shape behavior and express our core emotional motivations. For each type, the 3 subtype personalities take slightly different shapes, including one of the 3 called a countertype that goes against the general expression of the type in some ways, because the emotional driver and the instinctual goal go in opposite directions. To unlock the amazing insights of the Enneagram, you must first identify which of the 9 types best matches your personality. Then identify the subtype that most accurately describes you. This can be a challenging task, however, because different types look similar on the surface, and you may identify with more than one. The fact that the type descriptions refer in part to unconscious habits or blind spots makes the task all the more challenging. At one level, these personality types are based on a very simple thing: where we focus our attention as we move through the world. But what we see also defines what we don't see, as well as the fact that we don't see it. These are our blind spots. When we remain unaware of these key aspects of our experience, we stay blind to the impact they have on how we think, feel, and act. And this explains why we can be said to be asleep, going through life like zombies. To wake up from this state, we must confront the ego, as well as the shadow cast by the ego. We need to become aware of the automatic habits that structure our defensive egoic persona, as well as all that remains unconscious in us, connected to our ego's need to protect itself. This self-protective persona keeps us focused on its needs and prevents us from feeling pain or joy, condemning us to a kind of waking sleep in which we don't know who we are and what's possible for us. We suppress these shadow elements because they create pain or challenge our self-image. By making these elements more conscious, however, we become more self-aware and whole. Without facing them, we can never know ourselves as we actually are. When we don't see and own the unconscious tendencies connected to the personality we stay focused on and limited by, we are held hostage to who we think we are, or who we fear we are, or who we would like to be. When we move beyond the ego and actively engage in the process of growth that the Enneagram maps out for us, we begin to awaken to our full potential. Making and waking a zombie. Over time, we learn to equate all of who we are with the ego, creating a kind of false self or persona. We each come into this world as a unique and authentic self. As dependent children, however, we adopt survival strategies to help us adapt to our environment. We find ingenious ways to navigate through life, using coping strategies to protect ourselves as small beings in a big world. These unconscious strategies determine to which of the 9 personality types we belong. But you and your personality are not the same thing. Our personalities help us survive childhood, but limit our conscious awareness of all we can be in adulthood. Slowly, over time, our need to survive in the world causes us to develop false selves that stand in place of our true selves. And the farther we get from childhood, the more our true selves are obscured by the defensive patterns we adopt. We become trapped in these invisible, habitual patterns, and it becomes difficult to grow beyond them as they become more deeply ingrained. They become fixed and rigid in ways we don't recognize, precisely because they help us adapt and survive, in some cases under difficult conditions. As we become more comfortable with these strategies, we descend deeper and deeper into a zombie state without even knowing it. The Enneagram helps us understand how the survival strategies we develop early in life can turn us into zombies later in life. It gives us techniques for consciously and intentionally awakening so we can come to know our true selves. When we fall asleep to our true selves and our enormous potential, we lose sight of our innate capacity for growth beyond the ego. We get stuck at a low level of consciousness and forget that we can choose a higher state of awareness. Awakening to our true selves and moving toward this greater consciousness requires an enormous amount of intentional effort. We must become aware of our zombie-like state and then actively work against it in order to rise above it. We must engage in intentional, conscious inner work to awaken from the trance we enter when we think we are our personality. We must continually remind ourselves to be more present and attuned to our moment-to-moment experience to overcome the deeply rooted habits of the ego. Without this conscious effort, we can remain zombies all our lives, and many people do. The Enneagram can help us understand the patterns and tendencies that may be blocking our own awakening. How to use this book. Each chapter in this book describes a distinct path of transformation for one of the 9 personality types. Each traces an individualized journey from realizing problematic egoic patterns to specific steps in the process of self-discovery to experiencing more freedom from self-limiting constraints. You needn't listen to this book from start to finish. You can skip straight to the chapter you think best describes your personality type. Finding your type can be a valuable learning process in itself. First, try to discover your type using the checklists given at the beginning of each chapter and reflect on which type fits best with what you know about yourself. Confirm what you find through a deep exploration of what feels most true for you. Get input from people in your life whom you trust to help you see your blind spots. Try not to distract yourself from your developmental journey, however, by becoming too focused on diagnosis and description. No one piece of data will give you the final answer. You have to put all the pieces together. Once you find your type, it may show you aspects of your personality that you don't want to acknowledge. Have the courage to own these traits. Some people see the Enneagram as negative. Understandably, they feel implicitly judged by it, but you aren't being judged, and you must not judge yourself. Cultivate self-compassion. The Enneagram is about understanding the truth, and the truth can hurt. It's hard work to wake up, and it's natural to avoid feeling pain. But you must feel your pain in order to awaken. Each chapter begins with an allegory that introduces the key themes of the type. We then describe a 3-stage path to transformation, as well as the blind spots and pain points you may encounter along the way. To make progress on this growth journey, we provide specific suggestions for how you can leverage the insights you gain about your type to further your growth. The transformational power of the Enneagram comes in part from what are called wings, the 2 personality types that are adjacent to your type on the Enneagram circle, and arrows, the lines that connect you to 2 other personality types on the circle. The wing points suggest gentle developmental steps you can take, while the arrow lines indicate more radical developmental shifts you can achieve through conscious intention. After you learn to become more aware of the unconscious tendencies of your main type, you can create further conscious growth shifts beyond your type's fixed perspective by integrating the healthy qualities of these adjacent and opposing types to embody more of your true self and move forward on your path. Each chapter also describes a paradox that is grounded in the polarity between the passion that acts as the core emotional driver of the type and the virtue that represents its higher-level awareness. Each type's passion reflects a kind of zombie addiction to seeing the world through the lens of this core emotional driver. Each virtue represents the goal toward which the type travels on its path of transformation. You move forward on your path by integrating your shadow, the darker aspects of your type, and the habitual patterns and blind spots that characterize it. The original meaning of the word passion is to suffer. Thus, your awakening comes in large part from the conscious suffering you endure as you face your shadow. The Enneagram addresses the challenges we face as we try to awaken to our high side. It maps out the ways in which we function and gives us tools to become consciously aware of the ways in which we sleepwalk through life. We all become zombies by forgetting who we really are, but each of us becomes trapped in a specific set of unconscious habits. The chapters that follow highlight the ways in which each of us can take our own unique journey of awakening and learn to rediscover our true selves. Embark on your journey and enjoy the adventure. The Enneagram Guide to Waking Up. Type 1. The Path from Anger to Serenity. Your best teacher is your last mistake. Ralph Nader. Once upon a time, there was a person named One. He came into this world as a spontaneous child, ready to appreciate the inherent perfection of life. Completely serene and accepting, he felt free to experience joy and fun in everything he did. He took things lightly and flowed flexibly with life, with himself, and with everyone around him. But early in life, One had a painful experience of feeling criticized. When this happened, he felt pressured to conform to others' standards of good behavior. One unconsciously tried to cope with the pain of feeling judged and punished by proactively monitoring and criticizing himself before others had a chance to. He internalized the standards others applied to him and tried to be good and do the right thing all the time. He began to feel that he had to be perfect to be seen as worthy, and that he had to work hard to control himself in order to be good. In his quest to be good, one developed an ability to notice and correct his own errors, to see how everything he did could be more perfect, and to determine what needed to be improved in the world around him. He worked hard to uphold the highest standards of good behavior, and he judged people harshly who didn't follow the rules. He became excellent at making things excellent, including himself. He evaluated everything he saw in terms of how bad or wrong it was, most of all himself. Over time, one became very good at being virtuous and avoiding mistakes. He found the best ways to do things and adhered to all the rules of good behavior all the time. He criticized himself whenever something turned out imperfectly, which was all the time, and he tried to do better the next time. But in the process of getting better and being better, one lost touch with many aspects of himself. He stopped feeling or doing anything that might have even the smallest chance of being considered wrong. He lost most of his awareness of his instinctual impulses, his feelings, his creativity, and his spontaneity. He lost touch with his own inner sense of what felt right, but might be judged as wrong. By imposing strict limits on himself, one learned to avoid anything that could possibly be wrong, including his own deepest rhythms, wishes, and dreams. He often became very angry when others didn't follow the rules, but instead of expressing his anger, he hid his feelings and tried to be nice. He prioritized being ethical, reliable, and responsible in everything he did. He felt compelled to control everything he possibly could to make sure that he got things right every time. And he punished himself when he didn't. His survival strategy wouldn't let him do anything else. And he felt irritated about that, too, but couldn't let anyone know that he felt irritated. What one didn't realize was that everyone around him did know he was angry, because when he enforced what was right, he often stomped around or banged his fists on the table or talked in a sarcastic tone of voice. It became part of the way he operated when in survival mode. He didn't necessarily like it. In fact, it was very hard on him, but he couldn't stop it. He couldn't acknowledge his anger because being angry was not good. Sometimes he felt tired and sad as a result, almost letting himself feel. But what could he do? One eventually became completely deadened to any real sense of himself. He fell asleep to his own inherent goodness, a goodness that revealed itself in his good intentions and his genuine desire to be a good person. He could only keep following the rules and working hard to meet the highest standards in everything he did. But he also completely lost awareness of his deeper human need for fun and relaxation, as well as his basic human wish to be bad once in a while. One had become a zombie, a very polite, appropriate, rule-following zombie, but a zombie just the same. Type 1 Checklist. If most or all of the following personality traits apply to you, you may be a Type 1 personality. You have a harsh inner critic that monitors what you do and operates most of the time. You are sensitive to criticism from others. You naturally sort perceptions into good or bad, right or wrong. You try hard to be good and to do the right thing.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?